All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for attending today's meeting of the Faculty Senate, which I call to order at, looks like 3:02 p.m. The roll is taken by means of sign-in. If you did not sign into the sign-in form on your way into the room, please make sure you do so as you exit. If you are an alternate for someone, please sign in next to their name so that we have a record of your attendance for our meeting minutes. We have a number of alternate representatives today. We have Jennifer Baumgartner for Joshua Ellis and Joshua Albright for Carmela Matza. Are there any alternates who I did not announce? All right, well, thank you. We do have a number of guests with us as well. Jane Cassidy, Senior Vice Provost, Mallory Danzy, Director of Academic Personnel and Policy, Angie Mann, Business Solutions Manager, Accounts Payable and Travel, Kristen Mauk, Associate Dean, College of Art and Design, and co-chair of the Institutional Effectiveness Council. Brandi Roberts, whose title has been upgraded since I first drafted the agenda, and I'm pleased to say that she has been appointed as the Chief Financial Officer of the LSU system, so congratulations to you. And Tara Rose, Associate Vice Provost, Office of Institutional Effectiveness. And I thank everyone for joining us at today's meeting. We fortunately have no public comments, so we can proceed with the consideration of the minutes from our December 4th meeting. These minutes were distributed via email in advance of today's meeting, so unless there are any objections, we will forego with the reading of the minutes. Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes as distributed? All right, hearing no comments or corrections, the minutes are adopted as distributed, and thank you, Michelle, for putting those together. To the President's report, maybe your favorite one of the year, as it will be by far the shortest. Dear Senators, I hope you and your families enjoy the holiday season, and the new year is off to an excellent start. This promises to be an eventful semester as we continue the transformation of our campus and the LSU system started by the Board of Supervisors with the appointments of President Roos and Chancellor Dalton. I anticipate there will be numerous opportunities for faculty engagement in this process, and I will keep you informed as things progress. Item 1, Faculty Colloquium. Last Friday, I had the pleasure of attending the Spring 2026 Faculty Colloquium, Teaching in Turbulent Times, Establishing Presence and Purpose. The speaker, Mark Watkins, is a lecturer in writing and rhetoric at the University of Mississippi, where he also directs the AI Institute for Teachers and is an assistant director of academic innovation. He presented a very helpful overview of the challenges generative artificial intelligence presents for higher education and had numerous recommendations for best practices and resources faculty can consult to assist them in teaching in this quickly evolving landscape. I recommend anyone who may be interested in learning more about this topic explore the colloquium materials, which are available at LSU AI Aware Teaching, and a link is provided in the President's report. My thanks to Learning and Teaching Collaborative Chair Will Monroe and the members of the Office of Academic Affairs who worked to put on this timely and informative session. It was also encouraging to see that many of the recommendations were consistent with the guidelines on the use of GAI in curriculum created by the Senate's Ad Hoc Generative AI Committee, chaired by Vice President Param Singh, and endorsed by the Senate at our last meeting. I strongly suggest reviewing these guidelines if you have not done so already. 2, Library Needs Survey and Newsletter. LSU Libraries is currently conducting a survey to better understand teaching and research needs on campus. I highly recommend you complete the LSU Faculty Library Needs Survey, a link is provided, at your earliest convenience to assist them in their efforts to support our campus community. Anyone interested in staying up to date on the resources provided by the libraries should also subscribe to the LSU Libraries Research News, a newsletter which provides news highlighting library-related services, tools, and opportunities designed to empower LSU researchers across disciplines. 3, Phased Retirement Task Force Report. The Phased Retirement Task Force, created by H.R. 143 of the 2025 regular session of the Louisiana Legislature, which was discussed in our last meeting, has released its report. The report includes the task force's recommendations and useful information about the Teachers Retirement System of Louisiana, TRSL, and the Optional Retirement Plan, ORP. You can access the report online via the link provided. And 4, Faculty Senate Coordinator. I am pleased to announce that Kelsey Brandon has been hired to serve as the new Faculty Senate Coordinator. She is an LSU graduate and has extensive professional background, which is well suited for the eclectic nature of this position. We on the executive committee look forward to working with her, and I am sure that you will also enjoy getting to know her as she settles into her new role. So welcome. We're pleased to have you with us. And with that, I conclude the President's report, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have. All right. Well, we will get right on with it then. And I invite Paul to please come join me at the platform. So we're revisiting an old friend of ours, which is the I-grade proposal revision process. And Paul has brought a proposal that I believe should generate support among the senators, but I will leave it to him to present the substance of the matter. There we are.
Hi. All right. Everybody hear me okay? Good. All right. This is my third year on Faculty Senate. This issue has been before us many times ever since I've been a member of Faculty Senate. And since this is my plan to be my last year on Faculty Senate, I hope to be able to resolve this today, once and for all. I created this proposal in conjunction with the graduate school. So it meets all their needs, and I hope it addresses all your concerns as well. I don't think I need to read every word. The proposal was distributed to everybody ahead of time, so you should have had a chance to look it over. But I will briefly talk about it for a few minutes and then answer any questions you have. So this will take the current process for remediation of an incomplete grade from the next consecutive semester to the second following semester for online graduate students. The change is consistent and fair with what on-campus students, the time that they have to remediate an I grade. And the I grade would be valid until the final day of classes in the second following online term. So I have this chart that shows the time to complete remediation for a student who receives I grade in each module. The longest amount of time being 14 weeks, the shortest amount of time being 10 weeks. The student that only gets 10 weeks, unfortunately, is a victim of the summer calendar. There's not really much you can do more than what is provided for in the proposal. But on-campus students get one semester, 14 weeks. So this is as close as I can get to having the same amount of time for online students. I'm the director of online programs for CHSE. We have about 54% of the online students at LSU. And we have the largest number of students that are impacted by this policy. So that's why this has been an issue that's been very important to me since it was first brought up a long time ago. The change in policy would not affect any on-campus students. And for faculty who are not available in the summer, we do have an option for them to request an extension to the deadline until they return in the fall. So at this time, I'll take any questions.
No, thank you. And this was reported favorably out of the ASH committee, so we do not need a second or a motion to approve. That has been taken care of. So at this point, we'll open it up to discussion. Professor Deltel, if you can, I'm sorry, Chip, if you can just wait for the microphone and then please do identify yourself when you receive it for the recording. Thank you.
It's Charles Delzel from Math, and I want to say I support this proposal. I think it addresses the concerns I had a couple of months ago. And number one, it's clear, the language here, it has no more contradiction that the existing policy has in the catalog as far as whether it applies only to certain students or to other students. And it's a reasonable length of time here, 14 weeks and 10 weeks and all that. It's about as uniform as it can be. And my only point here, it's not really part of today's agenda, is that there are 3 chapters of the catalog that deal with I grades. There's this chapter here in the graduate school. I call it chapters. Maybe they're called sections of the catalog, but there's the graduate school chapter, there's the LSU online chapter, and there is the academic regulations chapter. And each one has a different rule on I grades. Different lengths of time, and this one will now be in conflict with the LSU Online chapter, which does not distinguish between graduate students and undergraduates. It purports to deal with all students who take LSU Online courses, and there it says it's not the second module after you get your I grade, but the first module after you get your I grade. So that needs to be fixed someday. It's not part of this proposal, I understand, but I would recommend that all LSU students should follow the schedule that is proposed here for just this narrow population. This one is just the population of LSU online students who are graduate students. Now, that leaves out the undergraduates, it leaves out the campus students, whether graduate or undergraduate, and they all have these different durations of time. For example, at the extreme, if you get your I grade in December and you're an on-campus undergraduate, then you have only 1 month or 5 weeks to remediate. You have to go till the end of January approximately to get your I grade finished. Whereas if you are if you're a graduate student in the LSU Online, you have until May. And if you're an undergraduate in the LSU Online, you have until March. So why do we have 3 different rules for different kinds of students? They're all perfectly good students anyway, but that's nothing we can do about it today. That's just for the future. I haven't gone through the labor of going through all the channels. It's apparently you can't just talk about it here in the Senate. You have to go to your department to get a vote of your faculty there, and then go to your college, get a vote there, and then go to the ASH committee and get a vote there, and then come back here to the Senate. So I haven't done all that. Anybody else who is interested, I invite them to do it, or I can help you. But otherwise, I support this thing. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Yes.
Sorry. Hi, Rosemary Peters Hill from French Studies. I feel like I have been a grumbler about this policy since the first time you presented it. Apologies. I'm just wondering about the poor kid who has 10 weeks over the summer. Is there a way to make it 10 weeks plus 2 weeks, or does the fall session start immediately after the end of the second summer session?
There's only 1 week in between online modules. So
Okay.
it's, without being overly complicated, it's just not
That's
really
not possible.
feasible.
Okay.
This is the most reasonable, consistent, fair thing that I can come up with.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions?
I did just have one, I guess, comment. In the justification, I wanted to make a change to one of the sentences, but it was after Ash had approved. So Michelle said we could bring it up here, and if there's no objection, that could be amended. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think otherwise. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was in the notes, so. In the document that was sent out, it was in purple, and you can show my comment. Thank you. You can see the comment where it said this was the change that was suggested. So you guys have actually seen that. So Dan, do we need to make that kind of an official change, or how would you like to handle
it doesn't
that?
speak to the substance of what is being voted on. It's just part of the rationale for it. So unless there are any objections, I think we can forego the amendment process and just leave it with the substance of the change, which is highlighted at the bottom of what is being presented at the moment.
Any other questions? Okay, well,
right.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, and hopefully we can vote on it.
Okay, thank you. Well, without any additional questions or comment, we can end discussion at this point and proceed with the vote. So the positive vote at this point in time would be for the approval of the recommendation at this point. And so all those in favor of the approval of the recommendation as presented, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. It is proposed, and huzzah. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Paul, for bringing this back. That concludes the business portion of today's meeting. We do have a number of presentations for you. And the first of these is an update on International Travel Registry presented by Jane Cassidy and Angie Mann. Please, thank you.
Following the theme of topics you've heard before at Faculty Senate, I repeat, just for a little bit of context, how do I advance? Just click? Nope, right click. You can always tell a Mac person doesn't know how to advance the PowerPoint. So just for context and just to remind you that in 2023, there was an audit by the LSU auditors of international services. They do this of all units over, rotating. And there were some findings that came back. And one of those findings that was noted in the report was that LSU students and employees may be negatively impacted by significant events while traveling abroad for LSU-related activities, potentially jeopardizing the safety of these individuals, and that we needed to provide formal guidance on recalling international travel. So there was an acknowledgement of the increasing concerns about international travel, and also that we did not have good policy and good protocol available to make decisions about bringing people home or finding people who were abroad. I mean, the whole range of things. So we got together a international travel oversight committee that met, and there were 3 outcomes that we determined that needed to happen. One was that we needed a new international travel policy statement. There wasn't one at all. So it's not a revision. It's a complete building from the ground up. We had a very great committee that worked 18 months on that policy. I see Julie Perkins came. Julie, where are you sitting? Julie kind of helped chair that committee along with Jessie Gray. Where's Jessie? I think she's here. And a number of other faculty and staff that put that together. That is almost ready for distribution, for putting up on the website. You should be reading about it in either February or March's academic affairs newsletter. So that's done, been vetted by council, risk management, and everybody. The second was to hire somebody at LSU that would oversee all of this. At any given time, we have, at any given semester, we have hundreds of people who are traveling abroad, students, faculty, staff. And there's a lot of risk that's involved with that, and a lot of communication that's involved with that. We've really never had anybody that's been a point person. So we hired somebody. He started on Monday. His name is Ray Lingdo. Ray has experience with On-Call. If you're familiar with On-Call, they're our risk management insurance company. So he's a great hire. I met with him yesterday. He's gung-ho, has great ideas about all of these things. So that's done. The third thing that we had to do was we had to put together a travel registry, and that's what I presented to you a few meetings ago. Our idea, original, of the travel registry was that we would be able to press one button if somebody called and said there's been an explosion in Paris, which you may remember was my impetus for being involved with this, because that did happen, and it took me 8 phone calls and 6 hours to find the people to figure out who was in Paris at the time. So our envision was press one button, get the list of the people who are wherever, and whoever was in charge would then get in touch with people and go on their merry way dealing with it. Well, as it turns out, that wasn't really a great option. You brought up lots of excellent problems with that. In particular, that it created a lot of extra work for faculty in your paperwork to get ready to travel internationally. So we got we talked about it, and I want to give some shout outs to Patrice Gremion, who's a senior director in AP and travel, Angie Mann, who's with me today, senior business solutions manager, Julie Perkins, Jessie Gray, and about a dozen additional faculty and staff who we really hashed this out. And I think what we came up with was a really excellent compromise. We're going to have to press on our end, we're going to have to deal with 3 different registries, but you only have to add 2 things into your spend authorization, 2 or 3. So let me just give you a brief overview, and then Angie is actually going to show it to you so you can see. There is a spend authorization in Workday that you all have to do if you're going to travel internationally. You'll see from Angie that you're just going to answer, is it 3? Okay, about 3 extra questions on the spend authorization. I do want to say, as of yesterday, I heard from Ray that 27 people who didn't even know that this, I mean, it was implemented on January 1st. 27 people have already used it, and there's not been one question about it. So I think that many of those people may not even have recognized it because there were just a few extra questions. All students will have to go through Teradata. We can talk about that if you have questions. That's not what today is about. And then if you have a guest somebody who is not LSU student, faculty, or staff. As some of you on grants bring people from other universities and we pay for them. You pay for them on the grant. Those people will have a form that they have to fill out as well. And all of this is to make sure that they get the full complement of benefits when they're traveling abroad should something happen, either geopolitically or personally. We've had people die overseas, heart attacks, things like that. So we need to know where people are. Okay, so I am going to turn this over to Angie. Who's going to show you, right?
All right, good afternoon. I'm Angie Mann with the Office of Accounts Payable and Travel, and let's get right into this demo of the changes to the spend authorization. These changes went into effect on January 1st. So as Dr. Cassidy said, they're already there. You may not have even noticed it. So we're going to start with the create spend authorization task. Nothing has changed on this actual task. You're familiar with it, I'm sure, if you've traveled at all. What we are going to do right now is we're going to do an example of a trip to Canada. So we're just going to Canada for a few days. Thank you. So I'm going to fill this out real quick. As I said, nothing changed here. So we are just going to do a little dummy spend authorization. And I'm going to put airfare on here. Obviously, we should put all our estimated expenses, but for purposes of getting this done quickly, we are just going to do airfare so we can get on through to the spend authorization questionnaire, which again is not something new. Now, what we've changed is we have split the questionnaire into two parts. So all workers previously had to fill out a minimum of 9 questions. Now all workers have to fill out 8 questions. So we actually reduce that. And then if you indicate that you're traveling internationally, you are going to fill out a second questionnaire. So for 90 to 95% of you, it's 1 less question. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to complete this questionnaire. Most of these questions were already here. So I'm going to indicate what's a new question versus what's existing. This first question was an existing question that we repurposed. It's just asking if you're traveling with students. And if so, we want you to attach a list of travelers. We're going to select no to most of these questions to get through it. We ask if you're going on personal travel. Again, this is an existing question. If you do indicate, we ask you to disclose it. Is this trip expected to last more than 30 days? Again, existing question. Is the purpose of this travel research related? Again, existing question. Does this travel include acceptance of complimentary admission, lodging, any of that? Existing question. You should make sure you fill out your ethics forms. This is a new one. Are you accepting a stipend or honorarium? Again, ethics related. And then we get to our last 2 questions, which are also new. Are you performing any job-related duties on a watercraft? This is for risk management purposes. If you select yes, we ask for some additional details. And then our last question, which is what triggers the second spend authorization questionnaire. Are you traveling to a destination outside of the 50 United States? That includes U.S. territories. So if you're going to Puerto Rico, you want to select yes here. So we're going to go ahead and select yes. And what we want to know is how many countries you are going to, not necessarily how many cities, but how many countries, 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more. In this case, we're going to select 1. As I said, we're just going to Canada. So I select 1 and I'm going to click submit and a second questionnaire pops up. If you selected no to the 50 United States, you're done. It's routing for approval. So let's go ahead and complete this second questionnaire. The first question, all of these questions are new. The first question asks if you're booking through Christofferson Business Travel. This helps us to know if the trip is already registered, basically, through their integration with OnCall. We're going to select yes here. Are you traveling to a destination with a level 3 or 4 travel advisory? If so, Before you do any of this, you should have done your high risk form and gotten approval, pre-approval. Yes, that has not changed. Same for this next question. Are you traveling to a foreign adversary country? If yes, we want you to disclose it. But again, you should have done the high risk approval process previously. Are you visiting a foreign institution? We're going to select no here, but if yes, we just want you to indicate what foreign institutions. We need this for audit purposes. Will the traveler access any email, software, anything? This is for export controls. If you say yes, there's nothing more you need to provide. It's just a yes or no question. And then we get into the meat and potatoes of this. We want to know what country, what cities, the start date and end date. So in this case, we're going to have a drop-down list. We've split the countries up. This is to the best of our abilities with what Workday is capable of. So in this case, we're going to go to Canada. So we'll select C, and then we'll select Canada from the drop-down list. You'll notice at the bottom of this country list, we also have Antarctica and international waters. Those are destinations that need to be disclosed, but they didn't fall under a country. So that's why those are at the bottom of that list. We're just going to say we're going to Vancouver for this trip. But if you're going to multiple cities in Canada, it's a big country. We want you to disclose all the countries because we need to know where you're at in Canada. And then we'll do our arrival and departure date. And then our emergency contact. It looks like a lot of boxes, but we're really just asking for name and contact information. So I'm just filling that out real quick. Okay, go ahead.
Last time there was a question about why are we filling out an emergency contact because we already have emergency contacts in Workday. And the answer to that is a lot of people don't have emergency contacts in Workday. And also sometimes the people who are traveling together could be the emergency contact for each other. So we're not assuming that the emergency contact is staying back and that it's in Workday.
Perfect. Thank you. And another thing that I wanted to point out, but I forgot, we made another change based on your feedback. Previously, only the initiator of the spend authorization had access to complete this questionnaire. We know that some of this is detailed information that maybe your travel arranger might not know. So what we've done is we've given the initiator of the spend authorization and the traveler access to complete this questionnaire. So you can fill it out yourself from your Workday inbox, or your travel arranger can. That's kind of a by department or individual decision. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and click submit once we filled out this contact information. Again, that's done. It's now routed for approval. Now, the last thing I want to show you is what if you selected 2 countries, 3 countries, 4+. I've got some examples ready here to show you real quick. If you selected 2 countries, all that's different here is that you've now got, in addition to this first set of country, city, and dates, we've got a second set. So we're just asking you to list out both countries. What about if you have 3? It's going to be 3 country sections. And then if it's 4+, we don't want you to just have endless numbers of options. So we've changed it to a free text field here. So we just ask you to list out all the cities, countries, and dates you'll be in each if you have 4+, just to kind of keep it simple. I think that's it. I think that's it.
Okay, so yes. Can you hang on one second? Let's get.
Hi, just Rebecca Christopherson
Yeah.
from the vet school. When you're talking about countries, at what point is a layover considered a destination? Is it 24 hours? Is it if you leave the airport?
I would say if you leave the airport, in my opinion.
Okay. And then visiting a foreign institution, what constitutes a visit? If you step on campus, if you're actually going into a lab, if you're going to a
Business
conference.
purpose.
So if you're at a conference that's on a University of Glasgow, that would be a visit to the University of Glasgow? Okay.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
Okay, for some of us, we may be taking a burner phone with us because of certain changes in our current administration's priorities. And I think LSU should be encouraging that as well. In those cases, we may not know our cell phone number at that point, because you do want some of us who may not be American citizens to be able to enter back into the country
Okay.
and not have some of that. So this is something I think you may want to think about carefully as well, because what you're asking could affect people with the federal government the way they've been going after some people recently. And
Yeah,
that's
Let me just ask Angie. So if they don't fill in a phone number, can they still submit it if there's a field that's
Yes.
it's empty?
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. All fields are required except that last one, the one with the personal contact number. That is optional because it's kind of at your discretion whether you want to provide that or can provide that.
okay. No, thank you very much. That answers my concern right
Yeah.
away. Thanks.
Of course, the issue is that if there's something going on that we feel you need to know about and get you information and we don't have that contact information, they'd probably be trying to deal with you via email or something like that. And I mean, if you're in Tehran right now, that's not going to help, right? So either way, that's right. Either way, right? Yes.
Can you say more about the export control stuff? Because I've gotten paperwork and I don't know if it's triggered from the spend author, but like asking me to fill out like manufacturer info for all my equipment and stuff.
That's above and beyond what we did. That's done by ORED. I would imagine that something here triggers that, but
We don't have anything set up right now. We're investigating setting up a notification, but we're not there right now. Yeah, it's for informational purposes.
right, you'd be dealing with all of that information separate to this like you are now. Yeah. Other question? Yes, Anessa. Do you have a microphone there? Oh.
Just for practical reasons, those of us who have research commitments or conferences over the summer abroad, let's say in Italy, and then you want to, couple it with the trip to Spain for fun, I don't know, I'm just making up some countries. Would the personal travel time, would you want Spain to be on this
Yes.
as well? I'm getting conflicted.
Well, I'm sorry. We had talked about
Yeah.
that.
We have the personal travel question. That's where you would disclose it. You don't need to put
Okay.
it in that second spend authorization questionnaire part.
Okay, great.
Yeah, sorry, I knew it was someplace. It's
Okay,
not
great.
on the
Thank
second.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Well, like I said, apparently 27 people have already completed this for international travel and nobody asked any questions. So hopefully hopefully it works well for you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
And our next presentation is on the Administrative Process Improvement Committee request process. And I would invite CFO Roberts and Director of Academic Personnel and Policy, Danzy, to the platform, please. Okay.
So first of all, thanks for having me. And I guess I'll speak on behalf of all of finance and administration. Thanks for all you do for our students, for the state, for advancing research globally. We want to be here to support you. So I wanted to start by saying that. I'll introduce Mallory Danzy, who works in the Office of Academic Affairs. We are co-chairs for this committee. So I wanted to start by asking, has anybody heard of it? We have one taker back there. So that's why Dan actually serves on the committee with us. And he thought it would be good that we came and talked to you guys to let you know that it does exist and what we do. So we'll start there. Faculty Senate Resolution 14-11. So long time ago, you guys brought to leadership the fact that we needed to establish an improved faculty experience. And that was one of the goals for leadership. The way it was born was that we wanted to get a working group to examine, kind of seek relief from some of these administrative burdens. So we know that you guys are sitting here and all you want to do is fill out these forms and go through all of these different countries and type all this stuff up. I know that's not what you want to do, but we do have legislative bodies We have auditors, we have codes, we have procurement, we have rules, all of these things that are binding us since we're using university funds and state funds to kind of tell them what we're doing. So we can't be very autonomous on that. But we also realize that sometimes we sit, Mallory and I, Angie and I, sit at our desk and we're doing our job to the best of our abilities. And we know we have to have all these rules and we have to get all this paperwork. And we forget that you guys are doing real things, things to advance research, and we're supporting you. So we don't want to put up all these guardrails and posts that we don't have to, but we also want you guys to understand things that we can't get beyond. So that's how this committee came into effect. I've served on it for the past 3 years. I started with Dr. Cassidy, I went on to Ryan Landry, and now I'm serving with Mallory. So we try to be good partners in shared governance on the finance and administrative side and the academic affairs side to kind of figure out what's going on with you guys and how we can help maybe take away some of the burdens that don't have to be there. And if there are things that have to be there, we communicate to you and we tell you why. So that's what this committee is about. That's the committee membership. It's faculty senate. We have some faculty at large. We have staff senate. We have somebody from finance and administration serving on it. So this year, this is the committee, and we've worked well together, making some progress, I think. So if you're sitting at your desk and you're working through something procedural that you have to do, and you sit and think, why? Why are we doing this? And do we need 15 steps? Maybe we can go back to 5. Start to consider, is this process too cumbersome? Can we streamline it? Is the communication of expectations clear? So we don't want to be sitting and saying yes and no at the same time to the exact same question. So is it making sense? Can we support, educate, train you guys better on how to get these things done? And then do the procedure still make sense? Some of these have been in effect since who knows when, because that's how it's always been. I hate that answer to a question. Why do we do that? Well, we always have, but why? So we encourage you to ask why, because sometimes we need to be challenged in that way to make things a little bit better in the age of technology when we can do things a lot better. So how do you submit? It's on you can Google LSU APIC. It comes up on the website, really easy. You can click there, and then you'll get a form to put in a ticket. There's quite a few fields you can fill in. I think the easiest way to do it, send an email to apic.lsu.edu, comes right to us. You don't have to fill out all of those boxes and forms and fields. You can just tell us what you need. You can do this anonymously if you go through the portal. If you send an email, we're going to know who you are. I don't see an issue with us knowing who you are, but if you definitely don't want us to know who you are, go through the portal and do it anonymously. If you tell us who you are, we can answer you. And we can ask you further questions and tell you this is how we fixed it, or this is why we can't change it. So that's the 2 ways to do it. Procedure, our committee meets each month during the academic year, and we really believe in shared governance. So we sit and we talk about it. Faculty can tell us their experience. We can tell you our experience. So we talk through it. We figure out a resolution. We may have to call in some of the experts. If it's a facilities question, we'll call them in. Tell us what's going on. If it's a procurement question, why is this happening? So we'll get the experts in the room. We'll be able to give you an answer directly. And then maybe you can share it in these platforms that, hey, we had a win. We figured something out. Everybody's happy. If you give us your information, we can respond directly to you. Academic policy issues, that's not in our focus. We can only do the administrative things. And just remember, when you submit this, it's subject to public records request. So be careful what you write and how you write it. Mallory, have anything to add?
Just that we meet once a week. So if you submit it, once a month. So if you submit a ticket, we will respond and let you know we've received like the ticket, but it could be a couple of weeks before we actually get together to discuss the issue.
Paul.
Sorry, Paul, if you could just wait for the microphone. Yep, no problem.
Do you want issues related to Workday?
Please. We know that Workday in itself is a work in progress, but it's something that we paid for. It's not customizable, but it is customizable, but it's not that we can get everything done, but maybe we'll be able to figure out better ways of doing things. I told you, we work from our desk. We don't see things through your eyes. So if you see something that doesn't make sense, let's try to fix it. And if not, we'll say, Paul, we can't fix that, but this is why.
Any additional questions? Yes, Robert, if you can just wait for the microphone, please.
Robert Cook, I was sort of wondering, do you guys have a beta testing capability? Because sometimes if something rolls out, the whole university gets hit at once. And it's not your area, but when Student Workday came out, there was a large amount of hiccups. I can put it that gently, I think. For most of faculty, I'll put that gently, that I think could have been resolved just by beta testing for a semester or something. So we would like to have, say, beta testing and not using us as beta testers if possible, because we get frustrated. You hear that frustration, you're frustrated about it. And I think maybe beta testing could solve that.
So we do have sandbox instances where we try to go through, but maybe what I'm hearing is we don't have the right people in the room. So sometimes, you're building a car and you get the best engineers to come in and you have the best riding machine on the road, but then somebody gets in like me and they're like, it's no lumbar support and I can't drive this thing and I want something else. So maybe what I'm hearing is that we need more end users in the room when we're working in sandbox, and we can take that back.
Hi, Charles Delzell here. I wasn't going to say anything, but then the first two people say Workday, and I think, man, I'm an administrator as well as a faculty. Most faculty have only a limited exposure to the harms of Workday, but I see Workday all day long, and it just kills me. And my staff, it kills them. It was killing them before we had the academic side of Workday. And previously, it was just the payroll and other stuff, and it was killing those people, but I didn't care about that. But now it's killing me. And I'm saying it's time to look for an alternative product. Workday sucks, if I may say the S word here. It's just the worst system I've ever seen. I haven't shopped for other systems. I just remember the old system was fantastic by comparison. It was like driving a sports car. This thing is like driving a bus with no gear shift. I guess it's just stupid. And I could list 20 grievances here, which are not pertinent to the whole faculty, but I really think it's like the time, we went to a great drama to get rid of Brian Kelly. Well, I think it's time to go through some drama to get rid of Workday. It's someone has to say it. It's not enough to tweak it. It's just a bad system from the start. And I'm encouraging the upper administration to come out of their shell and look at something other than Workday. I don't know what it should be, but it's got to be out there somewhere.
We're trying to come out of our shell, so I can commit to that. As far as totally dumping Workday, I can show you how much money we spent on it. So it's going to be really hard to just say, let's just get something else. So maybe if we can find some donors to donate to that, it might be able to be helpful. But until then, if you can give me some specifics, I will pledge to you that we will try to figure out some ways to work around it until we get to the point where we're ready to go out and find a new platform. It's pretty hard to find something that does everything because higher ed is so unique. So we're trying to make it fit right now, which I understand your concern and believe me, we're not all just sitting there happy about it either. We have some issues too. So just go ahead and put in a ticket, tell us some specifics, and let's see if we can get them figured out.
Okay, Ingmar Schögel, mechanical engineering. I hate to pile on, but I think one of the issues I see with Workday is the numbers of mouse clicks it takes to get anywhere. And I think like all of our poor administrators, they are getting carpal tunnel syndrome from that. So I think this is a real issue, and I think user experience should be front and center to any modification on Workday, because I think it can be done better. I know it's not everything can be done, but it certainly can be looked into in terms of like streamlining some of the things that we have to do frequently. Just to name one example, I think getting to the course offerings has been like a one-stop shop in the past. With 3 mouse clicks, I was there. Right now, I don't know how long it takes me to even find it.
Admittedly, I'll tell you, I haven't been in Workday student as much. I'm more on the finance HCM side, but can you please submit it and we'll go ahead and bring it up to the right people and see if there's anything we can do. But we will let you know directly back.
Similarly, on the research side, I was purchasing a relatively benign and normal reagent the other day, and all of a sudden it was like, what's the import commodity number? I don't know. And I tried to look and I got 6 different numbers, and then I put the one from the US government side in Workday and they're like, that's not it. Right? So then I just had to like guess. So
I can tell you some of the reason for that. We did have some audits about what we were bringing in, what type of chemicals we were bringing in on campus, how we're disposing them. So we're trying to find a way to at least know what people are buying so that we don't expose people to things that shouldn't be exposed. But the fact that we're not helping you to understand what commodity that is something. And we tell you it's wrong. Do you mind sending us an email real quick and we'll see if we can get that fixed?
So there, Robert Cook here, there is a quick solution to that. Every chemical comes with a CAS number. I mean, that the whole system's been designed for that. But the other thing in Workday is if you know what you're doing in Workday, you know what, because I just saw that when you're doing the travel thing, you have to type in spending off, So if you know what you're looking for, you can find it. If you don't, we have a major problem. My staff and the chemistry department usually helps, but we do this maybe once a year. We need to reassign somebody to do this. There's no Grok articles. There's very little on that side. And most of us faculty are rather independent. We like doing things ourselves.
Yes.
We don't like having to add. I think you know that.
Yes.
But we do need some guidance some of the time. I'm in full agreement. Workday, but I've seen other ones as well. And they're all this. If you do a task, they're built around most industries. We don't have that. Can we streamline it so that faculty have a certain portal where you've already streamlined it for faculty? So, okay, most faculty are going to need these 3 or 4 cost codes when they travel, so forth. Streamline it that way. So we can just look at it and click on it, not having to know all the type of words, special codes and everything. I wish on top of that, you guys can't do it, but I wish the ethics training was the same way. They've gotten better, but I remember at one point in time, I had to know what elected officials did. But can we basically work with that to make the faculty experience better, going, okay, here's what we need for faculty, here's your portal, here's what administrative portals are, which will make, I'm sure, your guys' life a lot easier as well for you all.
Absolutely love that idea. Never thought of it. So that's why we need you guys to talk to us. So I think we can take that one back and make it a really easy fix to just give you a dashboard of commonly used faculty prompts. So that, and then we can even put some job aids out, which we do have. They aren't Grok articles, but if you go to job aids, that's the vernacular we use.
Dr. Betwell.
Hi, Brett Boutwell, Music. I'd just like to take a moment to praise this committee and this resource as one of the best things that the Faculty Senate does, but one of the most hidden things that it does. About a decade ago, I followed the exact procedure that you've just told us about, and it didn't take long. And months later, a change was made that made a tangible improvement in making everyone's lives easier across the whole university. It's a tiny thing, had to do with one of the old arcane rules we used to have about what color ink a person needed to use in order to get a certain form passed through a certain committee. But it actually happened, and there were people on the other end that actually evaluated this, and a change came. It was one of the most empowering moments I've had as a faculty member. So for goodness sake, if you have a gripe that is specific and tangible, and you can see a potential straightforward solution, this is the place to go, and you might actually see a result. Thank you.
I didn't even pay him.
Hey, we probably have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Yes.
Hello, Ali. I'm from civil engineering. And my concern actually is about the current process of equipment purchase for research. It takes forever. I went through, the rules, to get it, and it took me like 3 months. And later on, the order was failed. So right now, the issue is anything above 1,000 has to go through that. And why don't we have the option of, if I can search online and I see this is really what I want, and I looked at different provider, this is the cheapest, and I can share this with people. Why can't the faculty order this with La Carta directly? This can save a lot of time.
So La Carte is one of those state programs, and we piggyback on the state. So the limitations and the procurement rules actually do come from the state. And I can take this back and maybe talk to Angie because that's in her area as well. But are you saying that you want the limit to be increased? Because actually it is 10,000. It is 10,000, right? That's what it was. Because of La Carte, we have to tag anything that's over $1,000. We have to tag it and make sure that we know where it is and can follow it. So that's probably some of the issue. But send it in and we'll see if there's a better way for us to facilitate the purchase and let it not take you 3 months. That's too much.
Well, we do have one more presentation on the agenda, so it might be a nice time to progress to that. But thank you so much for coming. And if I can just echo what Dr. Boutwell said, I mean, it's been a pleasure to be on this committee. We have had a number of wins in the last few years that you may not always see or know where it came from, but it's really been a great way to sort of bridge that administrative academic divide. So if you do have concerns, please do submit them, and I will assure you that they are taken seriously. Our final presentation for today is the Course Experience Survey, research-informed, faculty-led, and I invite Associate Vice Provost Rose and Associate Dean Malk to come and join us at the platform, please.
Not about
Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. I have too many things in my face here.
It's okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm dangerous with a microphone. Okay. Executive members, senators, thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Kristen Malk. I'm over in the College of Art and Design, and I'm joined by Dr. Tara Rose, who needs no introduction. We've all gotten your emails. We know who you are. No, I think a lot of you have worked with the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, and so we are here today. And we're also joined by Lee Daigle, who's been very instrumental in making this project a success. And he'll be listening to your comments and feedback to prepare any forthcoming FAQs or any kind of helpful guides. And I promise I have visuals, but I'm going to start with just a few comments first, which is to say I'm coming to you today in my capacity as co-chair of the Institutional Effectiveness Council. And so under the direction of OAA, our council, with representatives from all of your colleges, serve as a steering committee. And so we're providing oversight for institutional effectiveness functions across academic, support, and administrative units. And today we're here to discuss course evaluations. As many of you know, moving forward, course evaluations will now be managed by the Office of Institutional Effectiveness. Thank you, Tara. And another benefit that comes with this shift is that it triggered an opportunity to reimagine what course evaluations mean for faculty, administrators, and students at the school and university level. I'm not sure I need to name all the reasons why faculty struggle with course evaluations. They are perceptions, they are indirect measures, they can be completed by someone who may or may not have fully participated in the course. In more recent years, their circulation window has varied wildly, opening far too late and closing after final grades were already posted. I've been teaching at LSU since 2010, and I too have seen response rates just take a complete nosedive. And not to mention the questions and the results can be difficult to interpret, let alone grow from. And so our process included an extended but healthy airing of concerns by all stakeholders. And as it turns out, there was not a standard set of questions across all units. There was no comparable data sets that we could pull from in planning discussions or even looking at faculty awards, any of those kinds of things. And so that's why we're here today. The prompts that we look to launch with your support focus on the course's structure and its components.
the learning environment you foster in your classroom, the learning experience. There are a few direct questions, not compound ones. And the standardized questions will be asked across the university, including LSU Online. And so schools and programs will also be able to retain their ability to customize their own questions. So that is something that's been built in. So you still have that autonomy, but now we just have a layer of university-wide asked questions. So we have comparable data. And our thinking was that if we ask students to take time to provide insights which I know can impact faculty promotion and tenure, or even the budgets of university supported resources, that we wanted to make sure we were asking the right thing. And so I'm thrilled to share the prompts, and they have come out of a researched, informed, and faculty-led initiative. So a bit about our process. There was an open call for faculty to identify what's working and not working. And then it went to committee, which is the Institutional Effectiveness Committee, which I co-chair. And the team over in Office of Institutional Effectiveness put together a 17-peer university study. What kinds of questions are being asked by our counterparts? There was a framework that we worked through in order to think about these questions. And we landed on prompts or questions. I'm not sure which one we really called them, but we'll call them prompts. And then it moved through a student success work group where they were refined. All the while we were talking to OAA and getting their thoughts on these. And then it moved to a student advisory group. And it was even piloted in some general education courses this past fall, my class, as well as one of the executive members. And then we are here today. And so if I take a look at the things I alluded to earlier, I think we all have grievances about how course evaluations would ask questions. I know for my Gen Ed 2000 level course, I had questions about whether or not I invited criticisms of my opinion and respected my colleagues. So I was always kind of curious to see the results of that question. But the new approach focuses on that learning environment that you're creating. And again, the hope is that the units still have control over the questions they're asking that are relevant to their accreditors or their program goals, but that the new approach will give us a chance to look at things at that university level as well. Just a quick note on why consistency matters. Just again, we know that these course evaluations work their way into lots of decisions that are being made. And so the hope is that if we have comparable data, if we can identify trends, if we can see things that are happening across the board, maybe that'll be some groundwork for some change to come. And we're also playing with the name here and talking about it as the Course Experience Survey, because that reflects more of what it's doing. Evaluation sort of has a lot of baggage behind it. And so it's being called Course Evaluation Survey, Course Experience Survey. Okay, so the questions, I'll give you a moment to take a look at them and then I'll run through them very quickly. So as you can see, we're asking whether or not the course objectives were clear, if the course materials enhanced learning, if the activities enhanced learning, if the assessments were relevant to the stated course objectives, whether or not a student received feedback that helped them improve, whether or not the course encouraged them to think critically. This is the only question that has a little bit of a descriptor, just so students know what we're asking for. A question about effort, and then an open-ended, what did we not ask you? What do you want to share? During the launch, the piloting launch, there will be optional comment boxes associated with each of the questions. So if a student is sort of misinterpreting the question, they have questions about the prompt, they'll have space to fill that in. I don't exactly know the timeline, but as soon as we have stability, we know that the new system is working, those will be phased out. But they'll be there, and this is using a Likert scale from 1 to 5. And then again, just a reminder, departments, schools, units will still have an opportunity to write their own questions, so they still maintain that control. The window for the surveys will be consistent moving forward, so opening 2 weeks before exams and closing the week before exams. A little different for a 7-week course there. And there's a few parameters there about the levels and
the number of students, and support. So if anyone is interested, the QR code takes you to a faculty interest group, which is a really low-hanging fruit, low commitment opportunity to stay involved in the conversation. The Office of Institutional Effectiveness will be offering guidance for different units who are looking to revise their questions. If they have, a strategic initiative that they want to track for a few years, they can go ahead and change their questions to align with that. So they're getting that kind of data and feedback. And with that, I'll field your questions. Oh, and I'll invite Tara Rose up too if she would like to field questions with me.
Okay, can we go back to your 8 questions?
Sure.
How does this work for a class of 250 to 1,000? This does not work on course activity enhanced by learning. We can't do activities as a whole, especially with ADA, where some students need 1.5 times, which means how do we basically have some students doing an activity for 1.5 times in class and the others only doing it 1? How can we incorporate that in? We need a lot of guidance. I have no idea how to do that with 250 students or greater.
Tara, do you want to join me up on stage too? So you're on the mics for the recording. So I also teach a large format class. My class exceeds 200 as well. So we did not interpret that when we're talking about activities, we were referring to the things that are happening in the classroom.
So as I say, for some classes, as in basic science, we have to basically do the classic lecture to make sure they get that information. This does not work this way for us at all. The other one is I received feedback that helped me improve. In classes of 250 or so, we have to do multiple choice questions because they want that. We do computer-based homework. They get feedback from there. They're not looking at that as feedback. And number 3, how do you check the student was even in class? Sometimes they say course syllabus was not provided when it was provided on Moodle well before the class started. That should be, if that happens, that student's survey is just thrown out. And number 4, some students, I think, need to be some way of tracking the students. So when they basically do say something in a cohort that's hurting somebody, when it's not that, where they've basically done it with social media. We had one junior faculty member a while ago where this was the case. A group of students decided they did not like the person because the person expected them to reach a certain level. Mm-hmm. They basically got together and bombed that person's evaluation. So these things, I think, need to really be considered when you're looking at this for large courses and everything, and that students are not neutral, nice actors in a lot of cases. If they get a lower grade than they think, they'll go on and say whatever they want and give you whatever rating they want, whether it's appropriate or not. And also, they don't understand that some courses are structured a certain way, while other courses can be structured. They want them the same way as their favorite course. Yeah. So I think the students either need a lot more education, or we have to basically accept this. So this is one of those problems.
No, and I thank you for sharing your concerns. These are all things we talked about during an airing of concerns. It's the nature of why we don't want to refer to them as course evaluations. We're talking about the experience. Terry, do you want to jump in to go back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, you brought some points on like the activities and materials and what that means.
Just enjoy that.
Okay, we'll just share the mic. I mean, again, these went through multiple iterations, right? When you bring faculty together, not everybody is going to see eye to eye. There's lots of different viewpoints, lots of perspectives. So I think the goal is to try to narrow the questions down as much as possible and really determine what is it that we want to get out. What are we focusing on? And it's really about the learning environment. Are we providing a good quality learning environment? So with that said, again, the committee went back and forth. We had some examples of what materials are. There's a lot of discussion like, well, are students going to know what materials mean, right? Do we need to explain that to them? There was discussion on, do students know what activities mean and what does that look like in their class? So we had examples. I will say we did a lot of work with the student advisory group. And they were pretty clear. I mean, they came back and said, yes, we know what materials means. And they listed out what materials means to them in their classes. They listed out what activities for them means in their classes. And so I think we got some good input, which for the reason is why we chose not to have the examples there, because we want them to be able to use that open-ended box for them to explain the rating and why they gave the rating that they did. But knowing that this isn't like final, right? I mean, this is an ongoing thing. We, hope to pilot it for, at least 2 years. And then we'll figure out what the students are saying, what some of their comments are. And if we need to make changes again, we'll make changes again. So I just want to make sure that you all know these aren't final, but we do want to pilot this first set of core prompts with the students.
To his point, can we just have an acknowledgement on here that the class is either in person or online? Because those are completely different experiences. A class with 20 to 30 students face to face versus an online class with 300 students, that's a different experience. You're going to get in a class of 20 to 30 students, they're going to get FaceTime with the professor. They're going to get to know that professor. In an online class, it's not the same. So just some acknowledgement, because those are not the same experiences, an online class and a face-to-face class.
I too teach online. So yes, I recognize there is a difference. So are you asking that as the course evals data set comes back, we don't have to ask the student if they're in an online course, because in theory, the course they're responding to in their feedback will say 2401E, and it was the second fall of 2025. Is that what you're?
Yes.
As long as it's filterable some way where we can differentiate it, then you would feel okay.
Yes.
Okay.
English early mechanical engineering. I have some questions because I think if I see this course evaluations, I typically want to also know something about the student.
Yes.
I want to know, for example, how much time did they invest, right? It's not there. What course are they supposed to, what grade are they expecting, right? Not in there. Also, how often did they participate in class activities? They may have never come to class, right? So I don't see this in there. So it's about, like for me, a lot of those questions about what the experience is, it'd be about like what they expect, but not what they actually put in terms of skin in the game,
Right. And I think the closest we get is number 7, which is saying I put significant effort into this course. That was a request that question be integrated in. I think it's pointing to the things that you're talking about as well. I know it's not enough. This is where we're getting. Keep in mind, as individual schools and units, you can add additional questions. So if there are questions about attendance, I don't want to ask that in my online class. Like that doesn't feel like a university level question, because in my online class, attendance is not something that's built into the program. So we're looking at kind of hierarchically, what do we need to know at that kind of university lens? That's been part of the project. I don't know if you want to add in.
Yeah, no, exactly. Thinking about all courses, all levels, undergraduates, graduates, all the things, right, that we need to try to find some sort of core set of prompts that we can ask all students on our campus, regardless of in what course, undergraduate, graduate they are, with the ability knowing that if there's a very specific questions that you are looking for or searching for or want to see on the course experience survey, that you will create those at the department level. And so you all will have that opportunity to create those questions at the department level that you can add to your course experience survey.
And
Yeah,
Dr.
Ali.
Yep.
And then
Thank you. Ali from Civil Engineering. I appreciate the idea that we can create more questions at the department level, because if you think of engineering, the way we teach is not the same as a classical lecture. We might have more project-based, software-based. So that's very important. And I think still even this question from 1 to 8 are not fitting all still. And some of them are confusing. Like when you say number 7, I put effort to succeed. What if the student put 5? What does that mean to the whole average? When they say the course material enhanced my learning, if they put 5, I don't think they are the same. They are the opposite, right? What do you want to see the answer to be ideal? Perfect for 7. Is that they put significant effort or they don't put significant?
This is a great debate, Ali, that was had between multiple faculty. I will say that, they wanted at least some sort of one question that had to do on, how much effort did the student put in the course? And so this was the one question that they decided on. I really can't say anything more than that. Oh, this won't, yes, the 7 question will not be included in the weighting of the other questions, right? There's also an NA for each of these questions. So if the student feels like they don't want to respond to that certain question, there is an not applicable for them and they cannot answer that question.
Dr. Baldridge?
Hey, sorry, Scott Baldridge in math. First, I'd like to say I appreciate the fact that you're not attempting to evaluate specifically the teacher, because these evaluations are notoriously bad. For example, they're systemically biased against women, and so that's good. But then the question I have is, but what are you going to use it for? Like, what's the plan for the university to use these questions? Can you help me out with that? And the other question is, you sent around a survey a little while back, or there was a survey sent around a little while back. Was that information given out? What was learned from that survey? Thank you.
The assessment needs survey. Well, from that survey, we did have, I think it was 260, 290 faculty respond to that. I think it was more of frustrations about really the timing, the questions that were being asked. A lot of the kind of survey process just wasn't working for faculty. Faculty weren't getting the results in time, or students had to take it and then had to take it again. So it was really more frustrations about the process in general, is what we heard from the kind of what's working, what's not working. I wanted just to comment on your point about what are we going to do with this data? This is your data. I mean, you are the faculty. Students are completing this experience survey on your behalf. And so this is your data. I can honestly tell you, I do not know a lot about Blue Explorance. So the process prior to spring 2026, I am not that familiar with. I don't know if department chairs got, a set of results. I don't know if deans got results for their colleges. I don't know that. But, you will have faculty level individual results. Department chairs will get results, deans will get results, and then the provost will get results too, if he wants to look at them. But I think your question is how we're going to use this data. I don't know yet. So I don't want to say that we're going to use it. I don't know. I do know that we will now have consistent data at the university level to use for things like promotion and tenure, nominations and awards. So you're not comparing apples to oranges, but you're comparing oranges to oranges.
And then I think Dr. Betwell, and I saw Farasat, Peters Hill, and then Tiagi, if we can go in that order. Just that only objectively because that's the order in which I saw the hands go up. So,
thanks, Brett Boutwell, music. 2 questions about your description of the your activities as research informed and faculty led. So this body is the primary interface between the administration and the faculty at large. Have you met with members of the faculty senate or presented to this body at any point in the development of the questionnaire?
So we primarily worked with 4 different groups. And the first one was the Institutional Effectiveness Council, which there's one representative from every single college on that group. That is the group that actually kind of developed and defined what these questions would be. And then we shared the questions with throughout the process with the Office of Academic Affairs, and then what is called the Student Success Work Group as well, who I think we have 8 people on the committee. And then of course, student groups as well. So no, we have not, to answer your question, we have not presented to this group before. This is the first time that we've presented here.
It seems to me that the mechanism you've used is pretty opaque. And you're presenting to us something that seems like a fait accompli at the end, and yet I've been a faculty senator now for 3 years, and I think I'm hearing about this for the first time. When it comes to the issue of research informed, it's tricky, as Professor Baldridge just mentioned. There are these studies concerning course evaluations. Many of them, I'm not an expert in this arena, but I spent about an hour this morning reviewing the peer-reviewed studies over the last decade. And they're quite damning. They range from studies that show no correlation over a large scale meta evaluation of multiple other studies between course evaluations and efficacy of teaching as measured through other means, through some studies that show actually inverse relationship, studies that show that the more that faculty prepare students for success in subsequent coursework as measured by students' grades in upper division coursework, that they're more likely to give low teaching evaluations to professors earlier in their curriculum when those courses actually prepared them the best for success in upper division courses. And that's to say nothing of the studies that use different kinds of mechanisms to explore the ways that students hold women and people of color, disabled people, non-native speakers to a level of scrutiny that they don't hold me. So it seems to me that if we're talking about something that's research informed, we have to acknowledge peer-reviewed research. I mean, that's what everybody in this room does, and we should start there and then think about the work we do in reaching out to peer institutions and seeing what they're doing already. If we're all doing the same compromised evaluations based on shoddy assumptions, then I'm not sure why consulting with one another helps. Thank you.
Professor Farasat, you can just wait for a microphone, and then Professor Peters Hill will be after Professor Farasat, so you can hang out over there.
Hi, Manthei Farasat from engineering. We also have issue of participation. Like before, these were kind of in class kind of surveys. Is this gonna be online again?
It is going to be online again. However, it is a new software system that we are moving to. So students will get email notifications, but they will also get pop-up notifications in their Moodle course shell. So as soon as the survey launches and a student logs into Moodle, it's going to automatically have a pop-up for them in that course shell. They will continue to get those pop-ups until they complete that survey.
In the early version of Blue, we were able to see who is submitting, and it was if it was above 3 or 4, so in a section, but then that went away. So is this gonna come back, or still it's gonna be, you're not gonna see who is responding?
I'm going to ask Lee as
No.
it's while it's open.
No. We could see in each section which students have responded.
No, that would be no, because the survey needs to be anonymous.
It was, again, if it was below, for example, I had 8 students in a section. If it was below 3, I wouldn't see names, but if it was above, I would see. And it was very good for, at least in my division, everyone was in favor of that, because the only way to motivate to participation was to give bonus.
Yeah.
You would see who is actually participating, and you wouldn't just give one.
Yes, so you'll know the percentage that have responded or not. There's also, when a student completes it, we have set up a certificate of completion that gets emailed to them. So if a faculty member wants to offer bonus points, I would encourage you to say, if you want bonus points, send me that certificate of completion, and then you'll know essentially who didn't do it versus who did, right? Because they can just forward you that certificate of completion.
So, hi, Rosemary Peters Hill from French Studies. I have a question and a comment. The question is, I'm going to have to come back to it because I've forgotten. It went out of my head as soon as it came in. The comment is, if we can go back to the 8 questions on there. Thank you. These are quantitative questions, which require qualitative answers. And that, I think this is one of the problems with student evaluations to begin with, is that we're measuring them on a scale of 1 to 5, but somebody might just randomly put a 3 because they just want to get it out of the way, or they don't respond at all because they think it's BS, which I happen to agree with. So, and then these quantitative answers are used for promotion and tenure, which is a qualitative process, or should be, pardon me. I'm in the humanities, so it tends to be qualitative for us, except when it comes to producing research, which is a whole different thing. So it just, I think, and I mean, in my department, we don't use these as any measure of faculty quality because they don't respond to that. I mean, the evaluations done by the university do not contribute to an assessment of how the faculty are doing. We have department evaluations that are write-in answers. And so, we get to block students off for 5, 10, 20 minutes near the end of the semester. And then they have questions and they have to write in their answers. So the advantage besides that, professors can recognize the handwriting most of the time, less these days, is that then they have to take the time to put into words why they would give a faculty member a certain number, right? And we don't do the numbers thing. The question came back to me, okay. And it is there a specific date during the semester when these will become available? Because I will tell my students to bring their laptops. I will block off 20 minutes that day and leave the room and just let them do the evaluations. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. And one of the frustrations on the needs assessment survey that was mentioned earlier is the timing window. Like faculty didn't know when it was going to be launched, when it was going to close, or the dates were wrong and emails were resent out and that sort of thing. And it was very confusing and frustrating. So we have already developed the timing calendar. It is ready for you all now. You all will know exactly when it's going to launch. You're going to know exactly when it's going to close, and you're going to know exactly when your faculty reports will be ready. So we already have that on the website. Kristen is going to pull that up. We will have that survey calendar prior to the start of the semester, every semester, ready to go for you.
Tiagi, Jacque, and then Christofferson.
Oh, thank you. Trying to address something very complicated. Could you go back to those 8 questions? Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to pull up the survey window really quick. That was the last question. Go down at the very bottom. So we do have a dedicated website. I know previously there's never been a website for the course evaluation survey. So we do have a dedicated website with FAQs. Scroll back up just a little bit. I'm sorry. And it should be under, scroll right there, survey timing calendar. And so it's already posted. So you know exactly when it's going to launch, when it's going to close, and when you all will have your reports. And we will make sure that this is updated every semester for you all. And you'll also get an email. Did we set the email 1 week or 2 weeks before launch date? Okay, so 1 week before the survey launch date, faculty and students will get an email. So you all will know your students are receiving an email in 1 week. This is the week it will launch. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We had to learn that too. So these are all the academic periods that LSU has. So the first spring 2026 is a 7-week course. That is an LSU accelerated 7-week course. The online first spring is the first 7-week courses for LSU online. And then second spring is 7 weeks, 7 weeks. So really, if you're a faculty teaching a full semester, you're going to be spring semester 2026, right? So you go the full time. So you're the third from the bottom.
Number 2, can I have an explanation why not have in class with a Scantron and with the AI reading their writing? Because basically, in class, we know the students are in class, know the defenders are class. They're there. If you leave, I remember one point in time we asked staff, they said no, but this is something I just don't understand. All the students basically There's no way of tracking down why they're saying something or anything. This is the problem.
What do you mean tracking them down because of what they said? They So I don't think the intention, I don't think the intention is to go back to paper and pencil. I will say you can still do the survey in class if you still want to spend 15 minutes at the end of class period, have students open up their laptops, their tablets, their phones, or what have you. They can do all of this on their device.
Your system is not ready for that. May I ask what your suggestion is?
There it is.
Well, I think that's a much larger discussion. And I don't think, I think, we're charged with meeting the LSU policy statements, which require all of our courses to be evaluated. So that's our charge. That's what we're here to do. I think if faculty have issues with the actual policy statement, that needs to come to Faculty Senate. And I think there needs to be a much larger discussion. I think that's bigger than kind of what our role is here.
Yeah, we do have time for a few more questions. I saw Dr. Jacquet and
finish
Christopherson.
without having been disturbed? Sure. Okay, please, thank you. Read all your questions. It says course objective, course materials, course activities, course, right? You wanted it away from the instructor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to use this evaluation to evaluate teaching effectiveness of the instructor for promotion and tenure, right? If this evaluation was taken away from the instructor to make it about course, think of course material is developed by somebody else. We teach a lot of core courses, elective courses. Can we transfer to somebody else? So if somebody else comes up and picks up my course, is they evaluating how well I prepared my course, or you're evaluating their teaching effectiveness? Right? That's to be, I do not think the idea is to decouple the quality of the course or the material there. I think that should be evaluated no matter what. We do that in our ABET criteria, right? We have accreditation for our engineering and all that. But if you are going to evaluate an instructor's teaching effectiveness, are they engaged? Are they making students learn? Are they putting them into critical thinking? There's no way to shy away from actually seeing if they're doing the job of, being effective at instructor. I think by putting everything on the course, you're trying to hide the instructor's teaching effectiveness, and then you're using this evaluation for teaching effectiveness. I don't see where that correlation came from. And I agree with all my colleagues over there is this would not actually be evaluating their teaching effectiveness either. That's just my comment on it. But please tell me how these course evaluations tie back to instructor being an effective teacher. Who came up with this?
Hi, Kat Jacquet, AAAS. I just want to acknowledge that this is a really tough crowd. And I appreciate you guys. And I know it's rough to be up there. I've sat here at like the I grade thing. You guys have no idea what we've been through. But anyway, and I also want to acknowledge all the hours you guys put in to put this together. And also agree with my colleagues that course evaluations don't work. I mean, they're racist, they're sexist, they're homophobic. There's so many problems with them. You guys, it's exactly what Tara just said, right? It seems to me that we need to be having a conversation about the policy and changing the policy about how these are being used, usually against us, and that we shouldn't be like launching all this, right, at Associate Vice Provost Tara Rose or Associate Dean Kristen Mao, right? That's another conversation, right? Because you guys tried to come up with something, there's not going to be a course evaluation that works at all, and or satisfies everybody. So it seems to me that, yeah, we need to like let this go and then have a conversation about, okay, how do we change the policy? Who do we need to talk to? We need to go higher up in the, I don't know if it's at the provost level or academic affairs or right, whatever it is. But like, yeah, let's leave you guys alone. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing? Thank you for recognizing that and giving us a shout out. I appreciate that. Another thing I want to say or encourage faculty to do that this is not, when we talk about data, we look at a triangulation of data, right? We shouldn't just be looking at one data point. And so when I've worked with faculty and we just had a retreat in the Department of World Language and Literatures and Cultures. And they had some concerns as well regarding the instructor issue. But they were like, because in their mind, they want instructor questions, right? But they don't really want students to evaluate them because the students aren't qualified to determine whether the instructor is effective or not. And so we talked about the need of pulling in other data. So can we do peer-to-peer observations? Can you all evaluate each other and use that as a second point of data to help kind of tell the full story, right? I think there's so many other things that we can do, and this is just one set of data. But if you're really wanting to evaluate instructor performance and effectiveness, it really needs to be a peer-to-peer observation. And especially for courses that are very small, and even with graduate students, do focus groups, right? You don't want a class of 5 students completing this and not really getting meaningful information. If you have a small enrolled course, have a focus group with your students. Sit down, talk to them. They don't need to complete this, 8-question thing, right? And I think, so I just wanted to point that out. There's, lots of ways that you can collect data. This is just one data point, but it should not be the only data point to make very serious, to be honest, decisions about faculty, right?
So yes, and then a question, and then Dr. Christopherson, then Dr. Baldridge will have the last question just in the interest of time.
Great. Hi, Haley Cobb, psychology. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing. Kind of adding on to what you're talking about with these different data points, I see this note of optional comment boxes on prompts 1 through 7. Is it possible to program with 1 through 7, like if a student selects 1 or 2, to say like, you selected strongly disagree? Could you tell us more about why you strongly disagree with the course objectives being clear or whatever?
Like if the answer was smart and it knew a 2 triggers a certain kind of comment.
That way we can get more information.
I'm going to have to look at that. Right now, the question is optional. Please provide a comment or explain why you gave it the rating that you did. Is what the question currently says, because we felt like we wanted them to go back to why they gave it the rating that they did in order for us to understand, does a student even really mean, what do they understand the question that we're trying to ask them, right? So it does say explain your rating. It's not just an open comment box. But for it to be specific like that.
Okay.
Do what?
I was just asking if that's for all of the items.
Every single question. It may not stay that way forever, but we wanted to get an idea of what students were actually saying and trying to get at why they are giving it the rating that they are.
Very helpful.
Every question.
So my suggestion is, if we want to get at course evaluations, then one of the ways you could do this with some of the bigger classes is just remove the instructor. Put all the course data for one course in one distribution. And if you see a bimodal distribution, something's going on. If it looks pretty, symmetric, then maybe that's a normal course evaluation, right? The other question I had was, you said that this was a new software that was rolled out for this.
Mm-hmm.
So we rolled out new software for something that I think a lot of us agree is a problematic process. How much did that software cost? And at what point do we have a fiscal responsibility to say, stop buying stuff for stuff that doesn't work?
Well, I can tell you we saved $600,000 on changing from the old software to the new software. Of course, we are still spending on software, but I will tell you, if we went back to paper and pen and Scantron, we'd probably would be spending just the same amount of money, right? I mean, it's going to cost either way, whether it's online or whether it's paper and pencil. But yes, we did save substantially a good amount of money switching this product. And the system is not anything that faculty have to learn. So the results reports are fairly simple. You'll be able to access them in Moodle. So if you go into Moodle and you log into your course, your results will be there. So it's pretty easy to get to, but we'll talk about all that later. We'll have some guidance documents for you all as well. So,
and Dr. Baldridge with the final question.
Okay, so this is a follow-up question to my first question. And evaluations, there's going back to the studies, there's studies in which students listen to garbled voice of the professor at the beginning of the course, ask them to rate the course or rate that professor, right? Like in August. And then they take the evaluations that they get in December and find out that they correlate highly. So if you have a deep radio voice, maybe you're going to always get good evaluations. My question to you is, we know that we could ask if this is going across the board, correct? Like this is for every class and every. I don't know why we need 8 core prompts. So the places where we do know that these types of evaluations work are things like, do the students like the instructor? So you could ask, do you like your instructor? How organized or clear our students felt the course was? So organization question. And maybe how well they felt the student was respected. Those are the 3 areas that we know that these type of evaluations have some effect. So my question is, again, I heard at the very end, and this is the follow-up question. You say you're going to use these to compare us. How are you going to use it to compare us?
I am not comparing you at all, but I will say the results go into elements, which I believe is required for all faculty. So you all do use these in faculty annual reviews. How you use them, I don't know. Mallory's here. She can answer that question. And again, I mean, we are just charged with creating and improving a process that wasn't working. I would like for you all to tell us how you would like to use them. I mean, we want your suggestions. We have an email, we have an interest group, we have a website. Tell us what you need from us. Tell us how you would like to see these things, how you would like to share this information across the institution. We want to hear from you. We currently don't know how they're being used, why they're being used, what they're being used for, if they're even meaningful. It sounds like they haven't been that meaningful. Our goal is to at least get to a point where they are meaningful moving forward. And I will say that it's not only faculty, right? Lee's been working really, really hard to bring students into the conversation and get them to understand that this is meaningful and they need to take it seriously. And so those conversations are happening with students as well. So again, just kind of reframing, remarketing, rebranding the whole course experience survey for both faculty and students. I do hope that you all will see your response rates increase at least. I will tell you now, or in the previous system, I mean, students were getting anywhere from 15 to 60 questions. Because if a course is a communication across the curriculum, a CI course, they're getting 12 questions. If the course is a CSEL course, they're getting 15 questions. If the course was ILC, they were getting 2 additional questions. So the course evaluation process that we had set up, if I were a student and I was in a course that had a lot of tags, I wouldn't answer any of those questions either, right? So our goal was to get rid of the 60 questions for all these courses that are tagged all these different ways and just have a very short set of prompts that is small but meaningful, and we can use them. And then again, allow departments to create their own custom questions that they feel make the most sense for their departments.
I was just making make it even shorter, and then allow the
We started with 20, Scott.
make it, well, this is across the board. So let the departments, come up with questions that they find most pertaining, most that will give them the most information to the courses that they give them. Let me tell you, it's hard to convince students that math, it's one thing to be the biology professor and take them out into the swamps and let's go do this and do that, and a math course where you're like, let's think about this critically. So they do deserve different types of prompts. And so if the across the board should be very, very. Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted.
Well, thank you for coming and walking us through the process. The presentation will be shared. There's opportunities for feedback in the slides, so please do avail yourself of that. And thank you again. Okay, we are slightly past our customary time of adjournment. So at this point in time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, Robert's ahead of us. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. Our next meeting will be Thursday, February 12th.